world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition. It is May 20th, 2014. Tonight I am going to be going over cannabis, myths, facts, debunking the Florida Sheriff's Association, and a few other things. But I'm not going to be doing so alone. Oh no. Tonight I have a very special guest back on the broadcast. She's going to be dispelling these lies with me. Plus, we're all going to get an update. That's going to be the first thing we do, is get an update as to her case. That's right. You all remember a few weeks back in the end of March, I had one of the Cannabis on. I've actually interviewed all four of them, but I had one of them on talking about how she had been harassed by CPS. Renee Petro. You all remember her, I'm sure. I've actually mentioned her multiple times. In fact, on Saturday, if you go listen to Hangar 18, the profanity-laced rant that I went on for about an hour, there's a good chunk of it where in there I mentioned the Cannabis multiple times, and as I have said, Renee is an example to other parents out there how to stand up for your children. I mean, she's willing to walk around wearing a t-shirt with a big cannabis leaf on the front of it and having people whisper and point and say, oh my God, she's wearing a cannabis leaf on her shirt. She doesn't care. She does it because she's advocating for her child and all of these other people out there that could benefit from it as well. That takes a brass set of cojones. It really does. She's got more courage in her little pinky finger than most adult men have in their entire bodies. And it's driven by the love for her child. Now, when I interviewed her the last time, she was being harassed by CPS, but we have a positive outcome to that story, so we're going to get into that and a few other things, but I don't want to waste any more time. Let me bring her live to the airwaves for you all. Renee, welcome back.
Thank you, Popeye. Thank you for having us back. Team Brandon the Brave always would love to come back on Popeye's show. Ask away, Popeye.
So, first and foremost, I want to pick your brain about your case. I know that last time I had you on, you were being messed with. I know they were, you were still kind of under an investigation. And you actually, I think, are the reason why the outcome became positive the way it did, because of the way you handled yourself and because of the way you handled the situation. I think is the reason why it came out. You shed light on yourself, and now they're backing off, right? Like now the investigation is closed. They're leaving you alone.
Yes, I officially received a document in the mail saying that they found no evidence of neglect, abuse, and furthermore, against my children, and specifically Brandon, and that the case has been closed, which rightfully so, because there was never anything. And it's just, there was nothing. All I did was advocate for a plant, and we were wrongfully accused. So yes, case is closed, so they say.
But that's good, and you've officially gotten a letter from them, right? Like you've got official documentation stating that their case is closed and they're going to leave you alone for right now?
Yes, sir. Yes, we have. Yes, sir. We have officially. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's important. That's really important. I'm glad you got that from them, because that's like a vet getting his DD-214. Frame that thing and make multiple copies of it. Put it in your fire safe.
Yes. Well, this letter, as I'm going to read it to you right now, it says, "Dear Miss Petro, this letter is to inform you that the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office Child Protective Investigations Division has concluded its investigation on report number. The report was closed with no indicators of abuse, neglect, or abandonment." And it has a signature from Mr. Robert Blura, something or another. So really what that tells me is they did their homework, or at least I hope they did. And with the pressure I put on them with the media and lawyers, they backed off. Because I pretty much called them out on their game of, you have nothing. You have nothing to go on. That's pretty much it. And you cannot take away my child or my children because of the right of speech, the right of me trying to advocate for something that we already know should be legal.
Well, you didn't do anything wrong. I mean, you're not... Look, just so the listeners know, I've physically been in Renee's house, okay? I drove up there with Luke. I saw what she gives her son. It is not cannabis. She's not some evil mom, growing plants in her basement, trying to take over the world. I mean, literally, she wasn't doing anything wrong. And the fact that she was getting her chops busted for hemp oil, see, the hemp oil was a convenient excuse. I really think it was your advocacy more than anything else. I think the fact that you were using the hemp oil was just a doorway, a way for them to get their nose in, get the camel's nose under the tent, as it were. But you handled it rightly. I think you really did a good job in handling it. You brought a spotlight to yourself, which saved you. And you had the courage to do this. You didn't back down. That's why I say you're an inspiration, Renee.
Thank you. But it takes you and takes everybody else to help me clear my mind and stay focused, because it really becomes difficult day in and day out dealing with the everyday life of Brandon, seizures, school calling, aggression, drama, child protective services, and it's me. It's literally me. And then I have my daughter Rachel and Mr. Sammy, the little doggy. So it's like I got to take care of everybody. And I also have to take care of naive, ignorant people that just don't understand. Or furthermore, they don't read. Watch the news. It's all over the place. Cannabis is medicine. Get over it. I mean, it's pretty much that. Cannabis is medicine.
I agree.
What do you think, Popeye?
Simplest form. Cannabis is medicine. And so does 97% of the state, Renee, because according to that Sun Sentinel poll yesterday, 97% of the people who took it, they did a poll for the listeners. The Sun Sentinel's a newspaper down here in South Florida, and they're owned by the same companies that own a couple other newspapers in big cities. But they put out a poll down here, and United for Care was pushing it out on their Facebook page and everything else. So people all over the state were voting on it, and it was, do you support medical marijuana, yes or no? Very simple. Yes, no, or I don't have enough information about it. And it was 97, I think at one point last night it was 97% in favor of it. There was only like 3% that were against it. And those are the 3% that probably make money off of it. So,
well, those are the 3% that either they know, they know, and they're trying to play it off where they don't know. But the U.S. Patent Office issued patent number 6630507-2. The U.S. Health and Human Services filed on 2/2/2001. This patent lists the use of certain cannabinoids found within the cannabis plant as useful in certain neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and HIV dementia. And the list goes on. Antioxidants and neuroprotectants. So I don't really care what anybody says. It's a fact. It's factual. And it's there. Now, what we the people have to do, especially in the state of Florida, is learn, educate, become educated, because come November, everybody's got to vote. That's regular people, young, old, new, whatever it may be. Everybody's got to vote. It's just a simple fact. It's factual. It's there. It's not made up. It's not fake. It's not a lie. It's not propaganda. Well, let's talk about propaganda. Of course it's propaganda. Let's just keep this plant hidden. No, it's factual. It is of medicinal benefit, and our government has acknowledged that. So it's time to work hard at ending prohibition. It's simple. That's it.
Yeah, the war on drugs is stupid, and the prohibition of cannabis is even stupider. People don't realize how many people are suffering. Again, I've gone off on a few rants the past couple of weeks on air, and I've been using, your stories, the four mothers, Ucana moms, and I've told you this, Renee. I've told you off air. I've talked to you on Facebook about this, interviewing you all and talking to you all, and experiencing what you all go through, and I've only been able to experience a very, very minimal, tiny amount of what you ladies go through with your children, and it has profoundly changed me. And I was already pro-cannabis and everything else. But I can tell you, and I've told the listeners this before, without a shadow of a doubt, the one thing that will set me over the top and make me lose my mind is when children, like Brandon, have to suffer because of the ignorance of other people. And I try to remain calm, cool, and collected about it, but there's just certain things that will drive my meter right up to 150%, and that's one of them. Because people's ignorance is causing your child to suffer. That's really the what's going on. Wouldn't you say so?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's so frustrating. It's sad to me because while I'm able to utilize what I can legally, it's not enough, and we deserve the right to utilize this plant safely, effectively, right? And we that's pretty much it. We should be able to. Brandon has the right to. He's suffering right now. So even with everything all these medicines he's on, all these pharma meds, which are causing a lot of the aggression, a lot of the backward, behavioral problems, it's just still not enough. I really firmly believe that if we're able to utilize the cannabis plants, and it's not a miracle, it's not a cure, okay? Now, it may be for some illnesses. I really believe that. I firmly believe that there is a cure out there for everything. But, if we cure people, then what happens to pharma? What happens to, rehab clinics? What happens to insurance companies? They benefit from us being sick. So it's a simple fact. Now, I think that by us shedding the light on the fact that, yes, okay, cannabis is medicine, and we, the people, have the right to utilize it safely. Again, I say safely. We don't want to be just, gung-ho, mom and pop, light up a joint. No, this has nothing to do with getting high and lighting up a joint. That has to do with getting better, possibly treating symptoms. I mean, Brandon, every day, he comes up with, whether it's a mental breakdown or aggression or an increase in seizures, and the list goes on. If we can utilize the whole plant, and it may take time to find the right ratio, the right strain, a little bit more THC, maybe THCA, CBD, along with possible, essential oils. Who knows? I believe that the natural way is the only way. No more vaccines, nothing synthetic. It's got to change. We have a right to live a life healthy, not a life of disease and stress every day. That's not fair. It's not fair.
No, it's not. You shouldn't be forced to watch your son go through it, and your son shouldn't be forced to go through it. And your daughter shouldn't be forced to watch him go through it either, because it affects her as well. I mean, we can't, I don't want to leave her out, because she's affected by all of this too. And to think otherwise, would be ignorant of me. So why make both of those kids suffer and you needlessly? I mean, I personally think, and look, I can't promise you anything, because I'm not, I'm not a future seer or whatever, whatever you want to call it, psychic, soothsayer. But I can tell you that I personally believe, from my studying and my research on cannabis, that if Brandon had access to full plant with high levels of THC and CBD oil, he would heal. He would regenerate. He might regenerate, in many ways. The little boy that you remember might come back. And I think a lot of the reason why, I personally don't think he's gone. I think he's in there. I think a lot of it is the medication that that they have to give him right now so he can function. A lot of the side effects, I think it's creating like a little prison that keeps him locked up in there. And that comes from my experience with dealing with that. And I think if your son had cannabis oil, I think he would be a lot better off. And I think it's criminal for anybody to deny him access to it.
Well, I think here's the thing. I think that it's not so much giving him the medication to be able to function. It's the fact that he's addicted to this medication. So it's not like we can just stop it in like a second, because he would probably die. He would go into nonstop seizures, withdrawal, hallucinations, things that we would have to be hospitalized for. I could watch my son die. So this is not something that happens over a day. This is something that, his body has become addicted to medication that I firmly believe, like yourself, is contributing to the seizures, to the side effects, significantly. I really don't believe that the medicine's doing anything. And I will challenge any doctor on that right now. I am sick and tired of hearing the neurologist tell me, well, but I believe that this medication's helping, because if he wasn't on that medication, he would probably be in a convulsion state nonstop. Really? How do you know that? Well, because the book tells us. What book? The book that's killing my son and many others? The book that's making parents and children flee from states to another state for a plant? So, no. The doctors, they're not God. They don't know. They're only taught what they're taught, and they don't, most of them don't want to think out of the box. So, again, it takes parents like us, loved ones, for different diseases to research and understand what's out there. Just because a medical professional tells you to do something doesn't mean it's going to help you, okay? It's all about getting you in and out, what he's going to profit from or she's going to profit from. You may find some doctors that really care. You do, but I don't really think I've come across any of that have yet. I think that some of them really are trying their best to understand, but because of the legalities, they can't talk. They can't express how they feel because of the legalities, because the hospital that they're bound to. That, to me, is absolutely absurd, okay? If I call a doctor and I want to talk to a doctor about a possible treatment, I should be able to sit down with the doctor and talk to a doctor, okay? Especially one that's come out and said, hey, you're right. Cannabis is a medicinal entity, and we should be able to study it and utilize it. I would prescribe it if it was legal. But they're afraid. They won't even talk to me. Popeye, I tried contacting a neurologist that has been quoted in a newspaper. One of the newspapers, I believe it was the Tampa Tribune. Dr. Ben Badis. He's a neurologist, epileptologist out of Tampa General Hospital, a professor in neurology. I reached out to the hospital. I spoke to the nurse. I said, hi, my name is Renee Petro. My son's Brandon Petro. This is the situation we're in. I would really like to converse with Dr. Ben Badis because, I'd really like to meet the doctor that's quoted in the paper alongside my son, who's pro-cannabis for medicinal purposes. Well, you know that. You can't prescribe it. It's not legal. Well, hello. You think? I know that. I think that's what we're trying to accomplish is it becoming, that it's becoming legal, that we want it to become legal for medicinal purposes. But they're so defensive. Why? Why are we so defensive? It's a matter of give and take. Let's work together. What do you think, Popeye?
They're afraid of the DEA to a certain extent. That's why.
Yeah. Well, the DEA is... They're in their own little world.
They shouldn't be dictating health at all, and they do. Now they're you hear a lot of their talking points too in the sheriffs, the Florida Sheriffs Association, in their stance against medical cannabis here in the state. I hear a lot of almost like DEA propaganda talking points, which make no sense, and they don't stand up under any scrutiny whatsoever. In fact, we're going to get into that later, but they don't really stand up to any scrutiny at all. And again, the DEA shouldn't be setting standards for healthcare, because that's what they do, whether it's through big pharma medication like pills or cannabis. They're the ones, that's the biggest hurdle right now. They're the ones that have it classified as a Schedule I drug. Schedule it. My good friend Chris Gio, the guy that owns the network, he brings up a good point that if they, reclassifying it as a Schedule II, though, could be a problem. We'd have to reclassify it probably as something else other than a Schedule II, and the reason being for that is if it's classified as a Schedule II, then only doctors can give prescriptions for it, and only licensed pharmacies can dispense it like pills. And then it kind of comes under the control of Big Pharma again. And then all these dispensaries, or as the Sheriff's Association calls them, pot mills. Renee, all these pot mills are going to take over the local areas, and we're going to have crime and everything else, and people are going to be committing crimes like murder and rape because they're going to be smoking pot. Everybody's smoking pot now, officer. I'd hate to break the news to you, but like 97% of the state is behind it. What do you think they're all doing? Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I know, it's insane. It just makes no sense. Their propaganda is ridiculous. We got about a minute and a half, and then the break's going to sneak up. On the other side, we can get into that. And I wanna pick your brain a few minutes about, got a chance to experience 420 out in the Cannabis Cup out in Colorado. So when we get back, I'll pick your brain about your experiences out there and, what you saw. Because I know it was like a really positive vibe for you to a certain extent, because you got to see all these other parents and all these other people that were out there that are awake, which is nice. And I know that, just like with every organization or any whatever movement, I hate that word, there's differences of opinion here and there, but it's good to see that there's so many parents finally at least standing up for their children and not saying, yeah, I'll just let my kid be a victim of big pharma and take all this medication, because it's really sad. Every time I see a child die from cancer or something, I'm like, the kid didn't have to die. I mean, maybe 10 years ago it would have been, oh, why does that child have to die? God, why couldn't you save him? Now it's like, okay, we know why the kid didn't have to die. Why are they still dying? The question changes rather drastically. Anyway, I hear the break coming up behind us. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. When we get back, as I said, I'm going to pick Renee's brain about 420 out in Colorado. She got a chance to go out there, and we're going to take the Florida Sheriff's Association to the woodshed. Stay tuned. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. So, we went to break. I cut us off. I was about to pick Renee's brain about her visit to Colorado for the Cannabis Cup out there. And the reason I want to bring this up is because she witnessed firsthand. She's an out-of-stater. Remember, she doesn't live in Colorado. She lives here in good old sunshine state of Florida. So for the Floridians here that might still be on the fence, the 3% of you, for the small percentage of the people that are left on the fence that aren't making money off of the war on drugs and might actually be undecided, I want you to hear firsthand from somebody who is in Colorado and can attest to the fact that no, flames did not shoot up out of the ground, and cities were not consumed by pits of fire, and no, crime is not running rampant throughout the cities. And of course, yes, there will be some robberies of some dispensaries here or there. You have to acclimate to that. But I mean, there's robberies of 7-Elevens. Does that mean we should ban 7-Elevens and 7-Up and hot dogs at 3 a.m.? Perhaps maybe the country would be healthier. Who knows? Anyway, so Renee, what was it like in Colorado for the Cannabis Cup?
It was just like, actually, it was safer than probably being here in the state of Florida. Because you know why? Everybody was just calm. I mean, it was an event, okay? You have a wristband, you stand in line, you walk in, people are just, I mean, it's literally quieter to be there or go to some rock concert where everyone's just drunk and like totally, just absurd and oblivion to anybody else around them. Everybody was calm there. It was a very nice and peaceful thing to go to. Not only that, there were some world-renowned doctors, prominent doctors, cannabis doctors that were there, that had attended the Cannabis Cup. And that was also interesting to see. So you have a doctor dressed up in a suit, and everybody knows Dr. Alan Shackelford. I mean, everybody knows him. He was on the CNN Weed documentary. He was the prescribing doctor that prescribed that wrote the recommendation for, I believe, Charlotte Figge, amongst many others. So it was a very calm event. And yes, it is a recreational state. Yes, there were, vendors that were, posting what they do, but it was all done in a very orderly fashion. No fighting, no one jumping on each other, nobody trying to kill each other. No, nothing. I felt very safe, extremely safe. So when we have disputes from the Sheriff's Association or the opposition saying, oh my God, this will eventually lead into recreational, or this is going to cause them, the people that are going to use it medicinally are going to be high, and we're going to have havoc in the state of Florida, crime, accidents, aggression. No, it's the total opposite. Number one. Number two, guess what, Papa? It's happening right now. People are smoking pot. Whether they're smoking it, ingesting it, however they're doing it, edibly, I don't know, okay? All I know is it's happening. But what's even more important than that is the fact that so many people are ill and are suffering, and they have no other way to go. That's it. They're done. It's done. They need to be able to have a reliable and credible outlet, and cannabis is that.
Yeah, and the fact that they're labeled criminals for trying to seek something that grows out of the ground. I like the sheriffs who they're in their stupid website. And by the way, the website is Don't Let Florida Go to Pot.com. If you want to laugh, go look at it. It'll give you like 15 minutes of fun and jocularity, as you'll see tonight. But their excuses are just so lame. It's, well, we want to protect the kids. I have a mom who I'm talking to right now who's telling you you're not protecting her child. You're doing your job wrong. Failure. Okay, you're not helping that kid. If you were protecting that child, you would be making sure that he had actually adequate access to the oil, to the plant. And then you, as a mother, should be the one that makes the decision of how Brandon ingests it. And then obviously, one of their things is, well, kids will smoke. No, smoking is not how kids are going to ingest it. No mother is going to sit down with their child and be like, here, hit the bong. They're going to cook it into brownies or cookies or butter. Then you can put your butter on your noodles, whatever. And that's how they're going to eat it. They're going to ingest it in regular, everyday food. And, like Garen Angel says, eat to treat. So there's no reason why that should be illegal. But hey, pop this totally manufactured synthetic pill that might kill you. The side effect of cannabis is, I'm kind of tired, and that's only some of them. Sometimes some of them energize you. Depends on the strain. Depends on what kind of plant it was, indica or sativa, and it depends on the strain itself and what it was bred for. But the worst side effect is, oh, I'm a little tired, and man, that hoagie looks good. I mean, that's the worst side effect. Right? No one ever shoots each other because they smoked weed. Okay, maybe if they're on PCP and coke and alcohol as well, okay. Maybe some prescription drugs as well, okay, fine. But I don't recall cannabis ever killing anyone. In fact, the side effect of cannabis is not death. Okay, whereas the side effect of half the medications that Brandon is on is death. Okay, half the medications that are out there on the market, the side effect is sudden death, or the exact symptoms of what you're trying to avoid, like seizure medication. Half the side effects of seizure medication are more seizures. I'm not a rocket scientist, but does that not seem a bit odd, Renee, that the side effect of seizure medication would be seizures, and that's okay, but cannabis, which the side effect to your son would be maybe he gets a little bit lethargic and sleepy and wants to eat some more? And what do you think?
Or what if a wonderful side effect was regenerating new brain growth? What about that? Because let me tell you something. The medications he's on right now, that's not what it's doing. It's killing every good in him. Killing him slowly. That one day, he's probably going to need a liver transplant. Yes, but how come, what I want to know is, why is it that Israel is groundbreaking in their discoveries on cannabis? Why, or how about, what if the Sheriff's Association or anybody, any politician, anyone that opposes it, what if they debate Dr. Raphael Mechoulam, who is a world-renowned cannabinoid researcher, a scientist. Okay? I mean, what if they debate him? We know, he knows, the country knows, our government knows. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Cannabis is medicine, and what it boils down to, everybody that's opposing it, is how much money they're going to make off of it, whether it's an arrest, whether it's because pharma's not going to have their dibs in it, which we know that they're going to, because look at GW Pharmaceuticals, right? They already have their dibs in it. The patent is there, but yet the pharmaceuticals have already tried, or they're going to, have eventually a drug that's not going to work, right? It's not going to work because it's synthesized, and it's going to cost us a ton of money. No. We should have the right to grow it and utilize it. How about that one? We should. It's a plant. What can a plant do? What is it, going to walk and bite me? I mean, really, is it going to just wake up in the middle of the night and just bite us? Exactly. Exactly. I'm sick and tired of, in fact, tonight, I went to my daughter's chorus concert. I was wearing, which I'm entitled to, right? I'm entitled to wear whatever I want. I was wearing my child's Team Brandon the Brave shirt that I have a pot leaf on. Whoop-dee-doo, okay? People walk around with, Corona T-shirts on and, cigarette, Marlboro, cigarette, whatever it is. They walk around and that's okay. That's okay. That's cancer and liver damage. That's fine. But if we have a plant, right, on my shirt, that's not, because it's marijuana. So a parent says, oh my God, look at her. She has the marijuana leaf on her shirt and she's in school. I thought, really? Seriously? Now let me see. I told her, I said, just Google cannabis, U.S. government patent, and you do the rest. Hopefully, you've got the brain to actually digest it and understand. We must not be afraid. I will continue to be proud to wear a cannabis leaf, because the fact of the matter is, it's medicine. There is no way around it. And the truth has been set free. It's a matter of, what do we do with it now? Who are we going to let control it? That's exactly what I think. So.
Yeah, and then you have Monsanto trying to make GMO cannabis now.
Vaccines. Well, no, and then you have this new vaccine that they want to come out with. The, what is it? GMO flu vaccine?
Yeah, ugh.
Right? Really?
As if it's not already genetically modified.
I'm thinking all the vaccines that my son got was probably definitely contributed to what he has right now. Okay? This was not some sort of malformation in his brain. I love when the doctors tell me, well, but your son was born with something defective. No. All that's defective is what's coming out of your mouth. That's what's defective. I know my son's fine. I want to know what you're putting into my son. What are these vaccines? What is the food that we're eating?
How long after
air that we're breathing? Go ahead.
How long? I didn't mean to cut you off, but how long? I had this thought constantly crosses my mind, and this is actually asked a lot in the comments section on YouTube from the last interview we did. Everywhere I've ever uploaded it is, did he get vaccinated within like a year, like 6 months to a year of him getting sick? Had he received any vaccines at all?
The flu shot.
Well, there. I mean, I hate to say there you go, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist, but I'd have to say that I would look at that as a big red flag.
Well, and you know what? And shame on me. Shame on me. for even really believing these guys, honestly, because that's all they are. They're just human beings, okay? And they're taught what they're taught. It's just brainwash. It really is. But shame on me, because I need to do my research. I believed in these doctors, and all they did was hurt my child. That's really what it is. That's all that they did. They hurt my child. They pumped so much medicine into him, and they continue to do so, and I let it happen because I trusted them, because I thought they knew what they were doing. But lo and behold, they don't know. They don't know any. That's why they keep saying, we don't know. It's unknown. If we had a crystal ball, we'll tell you. We don't know. Okay? You know? But I do know something. I know that a moneymaker are those vaccines. That's definitely a moneymaker for doctors as well. That's where their profit margin sits in as well. Now, you know what happened? You know what was funny? Was I vaccinated myself, Brandon, Rachel. We all got vaccinated because we were told that if we don't, we may die. This is the rumor on the street, that if we get the flu, we're going to die, okay? Or because Brandon has a seizure disorder, if he gets the flu, he will die. He could die. Guess what, Popeye? Listen to this. We got vaccinated, and what happened this year? We all got the flu. Yeah. So Brandon got the flu. Flu A. That wasn't covered in the vaccine. That was a different strain. Yeah, I like that. So the pediatrician calls me and says, yep, he's positive for the flu. Really? Seriously? So what did we get vaccinated for? What is that stuff that we put into our body? Well, because it doesn't cover it. No, I don't know. No, what I know is it's a bunch of bull crap. That's what I know. Okay? That's number one. Number two. So I'm mad, right? Because Brandon's got 105 fever. Oh my God. What does that mean? That means that he could literally get really sick now. Okay? And I did what I was told to do, was get him vaccinated. That didn't help, because guess what? We all got sick, right? Okay, fine. But what's great is when they say, you know what, Tamiflu has really bad side effects, okay? We don't want to prescribe that to Brandon because it may lower the threshold and cause other issues. So what are you saying? Well, I'm saying that I wouldn't give it to my children. What does that mean? So you're prescribing something that you wouldn't give to your children? Exactly. I'm thinking that's criminal in its own way right there. What do you think, Popeye? What do you think?
I would have to say that's highly criminal if you're willing to dispense poison to someone else's child but not your own. That means you know that it would kill your child, and you don't want to harm your child, but you're willing to harm someone else's. That's a criminal act, isn't it? Not the harming of another human. What makes something a criminal act is if you actually harm somebody, whether it's physically or their property or financially. There has to be some sort of harm done to their person, and actually, it's more so to their person. You have to harm them, and that's what's being done. I would consider that assault. If you're not willing to assault your old child, but you're willing to assault mine, I'm willing to assault you. That's the way I look at it. You know what I mean? So I give you credit, because I would have punched half of these doctors out.
Well, you know what? This person was doing the right thing, really, because they pretty much said, don't do it. And I pretty much thought, okay, well, thank you for trying to help mine, but what about everybody else's that we're prescribing Tamiflu to? And then I thought, let me go and research this, right? Oh, my God, the side effects are horrific, horrible, disgusting, makes you want to puke. This shouldn't even be on the market.
It's killed a lot of kids, too.
Absolutely killed a lot of kids, and that's what this doctor told me. And I thought, wow, this is just it's to me, it's like a legal genocide. And we're letting it happen. And, you know, I would rather take my kids and live on an island and grow a gazillion plants and just roll in those pot leaves. That's what I want to do. What do you think, Popeye?
Yeah, I'm with you. When I win the lottery, I'm gonna start my own little island out in the Bahamas somewhere. I'm just gonna buy myself a little island and start my own little enclave out there and just be left alone. No, seriously, that would be very peaceful to be able to just grow your own stuff and take care of your son, grow your own food, and be left alone. I mean, honestly, his life would be much better if you were able to feed him clean, organic foods constantly without, and you know, no matter how much you buy that says organic on it, you know, there's a certain amount of crap that you have to put up with that. You know, even the stuff inside the packaging itself can contaminate it. So I'm talking about growing your own food in your backyard and taking it right to your plate, and then being able to grow his medicine too. I mean, his life would be so much better just being able to grow the medicine itself in your own house without the worry of getting your door kicked in.
Right.
It's stupid. It's just
dumb. I honestly, I think this organic thing outside, like getting it from, do we really know it's organic for $10? Why is it that the good stuff is so expensive and the bad stuff is so cheap? Is it demand? So we're basically giving the people, right, because they're demanding it, because that's all that they know, okay, unless they're accustomed to eating healthy. But that's all that they know. That's all that they see on TV. That's all that we have around us, these fast food chains. McDonald's, it's disgusting. A French fry lasts a year, right? But they're packed. They're busy. And even with everything about how it's so bad for you, we still go to it. It's what we're used to. And that's what the problem is with cannabis, is it's what people are used to. They see a pot leaf, oh my God, it's bad. No, it's what they're used to. And the more they see regular people like me and you just being free, walking around with a shirt on, they're going to think, you know what? What's going on with this? There may be some truth to this. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. It's a patent owned by our government. That's what it is. And again, I don't blame the people. I blame our politicians. I blame the people in charge. I blame the stigma, the brainwashing. That's what I blame. I don't blame, Jane Doe next door who has no clue. She doesn't know. All she knows is what she watches on TV. If it doesn't hit her home or no one is seriously ill and pharma's not killing them, then they wouldn't think to look. Okay? Or it may be easy for them to just, swallow those pills and keep the day going until something takes their life, whether it's an overdose from pharma meds. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to happen, okay? The amendments here will pass. We're going to vote, okay? It's going to happen. No sheriff, no opposition's going to stop it. It's going to happen. Because if it doesn't, it's like they're murdering our children and our loved ones legally. Legally murdering them by keeping a plant away from people and getting the right type of I don't want to even say, drug, because it's not. It's a medicine. It's a natural oil, an essential plant. Okay? That's it. That's it.
Well, Big Pharma and the big medical industrial complex was founded by the Rockefeller clan, back in the late 1800s. And to understand that that's where the roots of today's medical industrial complex, if you will, lies, then you understand that there's a profit to be made. That's why when you go to the doctor, they never cure anything. They always just give you more medications, which cause you more problems, and then you have to take more medications. And again, not all doctors are evil. Some of them are just ignorant, and they go along to get along because they have a certain amount of patients and whatever, for whatever reason. Maybe they shouldn't be doctors then. Doctors are supposed to be healers. They're not supposed to be rock stars. Doctors aren't supposed to, you should look up to them, but they're not supposed to be driving around in huge Maseratis and have a house that looks like a palatial mansion just because they're a doctor. Back in the day, doctors were actually looked down upon. If you actually do some of your research, 120 years ago, doctors were almost looked down upon and sneered at by the elites. Oh, that's not a very good job. Ugh, you're around sick people all the time. Till they realized there was money to be made in controlling it, and that they can also control the population in that way. And that's what they do. They dispense poison. Your son shouldn't be forced to take all that crap when he could take one thing. Or a combination of, maybe you made like a high-level THC oil where he took like in a capsule form twice a day, and then you also had butter that you could cook with for him. And then just by ingesting that, I personally believe, and this comes from doing all of my research, all the interviews I've done. Rick Simpson even verified this for me because I asked him when I interviewed him, and I said, do you believe it has tissue regeneration qualities? And he said, yes. So I believe that it will help him regenerate brain tissue. Okay, I'm not trying to give you false hope. I'm telling you, from one friend to another, I believe that if your son has access to high-grade THC, okay, he will benefit extremely from it, and that his brain cells will regenerate. And I can't promise you or tell you how much it will, because who knows, but he would be better off than where he is now, and it'll help his body get rid of all that crap and pull all that stuff, even on a cellular level, out from within him. And I think he would benefit from it. And the voters of this state need to realize that. I'm going to cut us off, Renee, because the break is sneaking up. Ladies and gentlemen, hour one just flew right by. Renee needs her own radio show. I keep dropping hints like that to people. Anyway, stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Another hour coming up. You don't want to go anywhere. 3 short minutes. Go get a cup of coffee, get a glass of wine. If you're in a legal state, or you happen to have medicinal, go get an edible or a joint or whatever. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. It is May 20th, 2014. Tonight, I am hanging out with my good friend, Canna Mom and Supermother Extraordinaire, Renee Petro. And we've been discussing, in the first hour, if you missed it, go back and listen to the archives later on. She gave us an update as to what was going on with her case and how CPS backed off. And for those of you out there that might be afraid of that kind of retaliation or facing that type of retaliation, you can look to her as inspiration because she had the courage to stand up. And then we've been getting into, debunking cannabis myths and the Sheriff's Association down here, which we're actually going to get into their stupid website a little further here in the second hour. But first, I want to give her a few minutes. I want to let her plug. She's got an upcoming debate / conversation, whatever, in studio on an upcoming FM radio station here in Florida in the next couple of days. So I want to let her plug that, and I want her to plug her Twitter and Facebook stuff for her son really quick. So, Renee, go right ahead.
Okay, well, first and foremost, Thursday, May 22nd, we'll be live on WSLR. It's a sorry, I'm tired. Whoa, look at that tongue twister. Sarasota radio station. It'll be myself, a local cannabis lobbyist, a master grower as well, an assistant professor of biology at Eckerd College, and a human physiology receptor pharmacology and neuroscience, along with Ben Pilara, the Florida campaign manager for United for Care. So it's going to be a very sort of diverse group of people. I will be there at the studio, live as well. Please tune in. And then you can also follow us on Facebook, Brandon the Brave, and that's Brandon with an E-N, not with an O-N. Also on Twitter, at Brandon the Brave. We have the Cannamoms website as well, thecannamoms.com. And I'm sure Popeye can help me remember what else we have. What else do we have, Popeye?
Well, you guys have that, and then there's also that website, Fires Children, right? FiresChildren.com or .org or whatever?
Yes, and then we have the FiresChildren.org, which I will be also updating as well. So we have our main one is the Brandon the Brave on Facebook and the Twitter, at Brandon the Brave. Yes. So that's pretty much it, really, right now. Well, I just feel like I had this sort of block. And I was like I went blank in my head.
Well, that could be from the level of stress and stuff that you deal with on a daily basis. You know, you constantly not only take care of a sick child and have to deal with, like you said, the everyday routine of that, which can be very stressful in and of itself and hard to deal with for people. And yet you manage to deal with that, you work, and you're also a cannabis advocate. And then being an advocate for anything comes along with idiots that, constantly bring you stress from that angle. So I'm impressed. I don't know how you handle it all. That's why I said, you serve as a shining example to many others, Renee, about what they could do if they put their mind to it, and that there's no excuse when people say, oh, well, I don't have time, or I'm afraid, or this or that. Really, just take a look at her. She has no time, and she's been threatened, and she still had the courage to stand up. So if you can do it, then other people should look to that as an example to do the same, and then maybe we wouldn't have as many problems. Maybe the bullies wouldn't be getting as out of control as they are if people actually stood up and put them in check. Just a thought. Just saying. So,
absolutely, you must have the courage to stand up, because if you're fighting for your loved one, your child, your wife, your mother, your father, they rely on our strength to stand up for them. Because I know right now Brandon can't. Okay, he needs me to stand up for him. And I will not stand by and watch my son die little by little. I won't do it. I will not do it. He is my child, and he deserves the right to a better life, a life without being drugged up on these horrible meds, a life with possible seizure control. And to be honest with you, Popeye, even if we never gain seizure control, because the fact of the matter is, yes, Brandon is sick. Okay, he is, and if it's because of the way our world is, and I guess I don't want to go back in the past, but it is what it is. Okay, but that doesn't mean that we just stand by and let it happen and let it continue happening. No, absolutely not. We must all together work together, side by side, as a team. It's power in numbers. Yes, I'm one person, but, we need to all work together. It's a strategic plan, and this is something that's going to take years and years and years to set straight. It is not something that's easy. So while I'm extremely exhausted and mentally and physically tired, okay, I will never give up. Never give up.
And you know what? Eventually, like I said to you on November 4th, at least once it's passed, you can at least and take it from overdrive and put it back maybe into fourth gear, or maybe even drop it down to third a little bit, and everybody can. Now, that doesn't mean people need to take their foot off the gas. We still need to keep our eyes on it, because they could use this as an opportunity to start to bring in like blood, random blood draw and checkpoints like they have in Colorado. My friend Chris that owns the network came on Saturday night with us for a few minutes and brought up a lot of these good points when we were talking about legalization, whether it's total legalization or just, for medicinal purposes. There can be a slippery slope. So we have to pay attention to that after the fact. But I think once it's passed, you can at least take a day off and go, because you've really already gone above and beyond what most parents in this planet would have done. Like, I know what you deal with. You know what I mean? I know the average listener doesn't. They know what you deal with only from what they hear you say, or the interviews and stuff you've done. But I know that you deal with a ton of crap on a daily basis. I think that after at least this is passed, you can at least take some of that weight off your shoulders, because you have at least succeeded in that mission. There might be other missions, but even the military gets a reprieve once in a while and gets to go, oh, okay, firefight's over. Oh, you know what I mean? Like you get a chance to decompress for whether it's a day or a few hours or whatever. But on November 4th, I don't have any doubt. Maybe a month or two ago, I wasn't sure. Maybe even 2-3 months ago, I might have been like, I don't know. This is Florida. We have to try hard. But all these polls, and I know it's still early, and we got to be careful because, you still got like 5.5, 6 months. But right now, this early out, and the polls are already showing that, people are for it. So if people like yourself and other parents have honest conversations with radio show hosts like myself, and like you have the courage to actually go and sit in front of the sheriff and debate this guy face to face and tell him what you think. That's what we need. Not only do we need growers and stuff like that, because that'll help dispel some of the other retarded rumors that the sheriffs might have. But first and foremost, okay, you have to get through that programming that these guys have, because a lot of them are good people to a certain extent. Not every one of them that might be against it is a bad individual. Some of them might just really buy into the crap. Okay. And for those of them that know and still don't care, and because they make money off of it, well, then that's a different level. But I think it's very powerful, as I've told you before, to have a mother of a child who needs this, medically, and who, for at a basic level, they're being criminally negligent by trying to block you from having access to this stuff for your child. You're not trying to sling to the neighborhood. You're trying to take care of your kid. But it's this ignorance level. You have people that I'm sure you have people around you. Even in your local area that still, no matter what, their brain is still locked into that old mentality of thinking when it comes to it. And that ignorance is what's still driving this negative view of it. How come you can walk around with a cannabis leaf on the front of your shirt and you're evil, Renee? Look at her, she's got a cannabis leaf. But if you walked around in that same shirt, had all the same things on it, except you took the cannabis leaf off and you took cannabis as medicine off the bottom of it, and you put, let's say, Depakote is medicine, and a picture of Depakote on the front of it, would that be okay? Or clonazepam?
Yes.
Or
that's because it's something they can relate to. It's because it's something that's normal. It's because it's something that's not marijuana. That's what it is. That's what it is. Literally, you're right. If I walked in as a Depakote pill, I'm sure I would have a standing ovation. But if I walked in dressed up in a pot leaf, I would be spat on. I would be called some voodoo devil. Well, guess what? You come and you sleep next to my son at night, okay? After I give him all these medications, you see what happens to him at 3 o'clock in the morning. When he wakes up and he is talking in Chinese, all right? And he is not in his normal right state of mind. You tell me what that's from. Exactly. Or how about we debate and dispute the 700 uses, medical uses that cannabis can help or take away pain. How about, let's see, ADD, ADHD, 700 medicinal uses of cannabis sorted by diseases. ADD, right? AIDS, alcoholism. ALS, Alzheimer's. Appetite stimulant. Arthritis, asthma, atrophy, autism, cancer, really, and the list goes on. These are medicinal benefits from cannabis. Yeah. I honestly think, here's my honest opinion. I believe that if we were able to utilize cannabis in whole from the beginning of Brandon's acute phase of his illness, I believe that Brandon could have been spared so much pain. Okay? Being strapped to a bed in a hospital, looked down on like some voodoo psycho boy. I believe that if we were able to utilize cannabis in a whole plant, that Brandon would be okay today. I honestly believe that he would be okay today. But now, because of the repercussion, literally we have to deal with the consequences now. And unfortunately, and this is something that I really feel deep down inside, some of these side effects are never going to go away. He's been on clonazepam, a highly addictive benzo, sort of keep you calm medication. He's been on that for 4 years now. 4 years. 4 years. Yeah. It's going to take me at least 7 years probably to get him off of it. We tried to, Popeye. The doctors tried to wean Brandon off of Klonopin. Do you know what happened? Within weaning him, bringing his dose down, he went into status seizures. That means his body continued seizing. He went from one seizure to another seizure to another seizure to another seizure that they had to give him a rescue med, which was what? Klonopin on top of, Ativan or Diastat or those medications. Really? And then the doctor he can look me in the eye and tell me, well, it's because he needs it, because it's helping him. No. It's not because it's helping him, it's because he's addicted to it. Of course, if you take him off of a 1 milligram right away, he's going to, that's what's going to happen. It's not because he needs it, it's because he's used to it. There's no way around it, okay? The simple fact is, cannabis is medicine. And, something was brought to light again. There's a school, I believe, in Pasco County. Did you hear about that, about the school that was handing out, cannabis, like cannabis is bad pamphlets? Popeye, have you heard about that?
No, I did not, but this doesn't surprise me. Go ahead and enlighten me.
Let me find, give me a second. It was a school in Pasco County, and they were handing out, it was during a PTA meeting. Imagine. Here. Let's see.
Of course.
PTA meeting ends with anti-medical marijuana pamphlets. Parents attending a mandatory PTA meeting this month at Thurgood Marshall Fundamental Middle School, somewhere, let's see, it's in Pasco County. I was astounded. This is a parent saying, I was astounded. There was all this scary stuff saying how bad it was, said a St. Petersburg resident, an amendment supporter whose son attends the school. People should not be doing this in schools. This is politics, which should not be brought to schools. And if I'm not mistaken, I thought we technically are not allowed to use politics in school, correct? Right? Is that right, Popeye? Are we allowed to use that sort of propaganda in schools?
Well,
Is that
technically,
legal or not legal?
well, there's probably a gray area there about legality, but you're supposed to have that separation where schools aren't supposed to be indoctrination centers, but I mean, technically they really are indoctrination centers. So it doesn't, honestly, knowing what I know about the education system and what I know is going on behind the scenes and has been going on, that doesn't surprise me. And it's sad that I'm numb like that and it doesn't surprise me anymore because I've seen so many times that things like that happen. And I question the level of intelligence of the people that actually handed out those pamphlets or okayed them to be handed out. Again, either you're at this point in 2014, maybe in 2006, well, not maybe. In 2006, I can understand a level of ignorance. In 2008, in 2010, I could even understand a level of ignorance. But it's 2014, and at least in the past 4 years, the level of knowledge about cannabis's medicinal value, I mean, it's always been out there, but it's been exponentially growing, as has the evolution of humanity. People don't even realize it, but it is. I mean, they're trying to dumb people down, but there's still this evolution going on where people are starting to learn things. And there's no excuse for people that really are ignorant to it and don't know the facts to say something. Like if you were in a debate with somebody and they said, well, I don't know of any medicinal value. In fact, the Palm Beach County Sheriff, they interviewed him on one of the local channels down here, and he was doing an interview about it, and he said, well, I don't see any medicinal value from smoking it. Well, first of all, there is medicinal value from smoking it, and 5 minutes of research would show you that, Sheriff. But these moms, these parents, Renee, is not pushing for Brandon to have a water bong. And if I hear that lame excuse one more time from somebody, I'm going to explode, okay? All she wants to do is give high-grade THC oil, maybe perhaps make butter out of it, and you could literally make oil and put it in a capsule and give it to him twice a day like he would be taking a vitamin or one of these harmful big pharma meds, and he'd be able to get off 95% of the crap he was on. And I believe that it wouldn't take you 6 years or 7 years to wean little man off of all that medication. I believe that he would get off of it much sooner because I've seen people get off of it, okay? I've seen people quit hardcore drug. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen people that were on heroin for years get off it. I know people that were hardcore drug addicts, that were hardcore coke heads or pill heads, no more, because they used cannabis. And it helped them get off of it and get through the withdrawal symptoms, and then they were able to deal with the real reason why they use that stuff. And in your son's case, the cannabis would do both, because his reasons for using it aren't I have self-loathing or anything like that. No, it's medical, and the cannabis would help detox him and help him medicinally. So it's a win-win, and there's no reason that he should be banned from having it. And it irritates me that he doesn't have access to it right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it irritates me when a pamphlet is distributed in a school, right, amongst parents that will freak out because that's what happened. That, which from what I'm reading here, it's a violation of school system policy. Okay? So what happened was a violation and did not specifically... So they really didn't sort of identify themselves, so-called. They just sort of showed up and put this little booth there. And everybody had to get a pamphlet before they left. And guess what? But the logos on the pamphlet were from Save Our Society from Drugs, which is pharma drugs, they mean. And Don't Let Florida Go to Pot. Okay? Yeah, and the Florida Sheriff's Association, who are all amongst corruption. It's corruption. That's what it's about, okay? This is, look, how the pamphlets made their way into parents' hands is not entirely clear. We have a shadow of a doubt here. What's going on? How does that happen? So So there's a PTA meeting, and pamphlets show up, people show up, but the principal doesn't know. Does that sound okay to you, or what? Does that sound kind of like a bit sort of iffy to you? What do you think?
Yeah, to say the least. And knowing how they do things behind the scenes. I mean, that just, that they had these pamphlets and stuff printed up, whatever promotional materials, and it's almost understanding it from like a military perspective. It's tactical what they're doing. They're trying to. Oh, yeah. They're using the simplest form of attack: appeal to emotion.
Oh yeah.
Fear.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
None of it's rational. I mean, if you read what they say, like for instance, we only have a few minutes left, but I'll throw this out there, and then we'll go to break, and then we'll come back and we'll have another half hour to finish up everything else. But okay, you just heard, for the listeners, you just heard Renee tell you all what this medication does to her son. Okay, and she's not bloviating or anything or exaggerating anything. It's what he goes through. Okay, one of the don't let Florida go to pot. The sheriff's myth versus facts is marijuana is harmless. That's the myth. Fact: today's marijuana is far more potent than decades past. And then it goes into how the percentage and blah 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 blah. And it says regular marijuana use started in adolescence and continued into adulthood can result in a loss of up to 8 IQ points. Meaning, if Brandon started now, according to them, which I don't think that's true because it actually makes you generate tissue and it encourages free thought. So I don't think he'd lose any IQ points. But even if you believe that, it would only make him lose 8 IQ points. Well, two questions here. One, how many IQ points does the normal average everyday person lose from drinking the fluoridated water, which it's already been proven fluoride makes a huge difference in IQ points. Harvard released a study last year that it drops IQ, literally makes people dumber. Okay, that's okay, and the anti-fluoride activists are quote-unquote terrorists, okay, and that actually harms children and adults, but that's okay. Don't worry about fluoride, bone cancer, don't worry about that. But your myth about cannabis actually causing an IQ reduction, I'd have to dispute that. And again, what do you think Renee's son goes through? Do you think I'll put this out there to the listener because we got about a minute before the break sneaks up on us, and then I'll throw this question back out there to Renee on the other side of the break and let her answer it so she has enough time to. But what if Brandon was given cannabis oil, okay, and his IQ, oh my God, over the course of time dropped by 8 points? How many points do you think his IQ is going to drop with all the crap that he's on now? Because it's literally killing brain cells, as you heard Renee already say. It's killing brain cells, the healthy ones that are there, and the ones that try to regenerate, okay, because your body's constantly regenerating cells. And it's trying to heal itself, but the stuff that he's on won't let him. Beats his immune system down. Now, if he was given cannabis oil, that would change. So I ask you again, Sheriff, how come it's okay for him to be on all this crap and that lower his IQ and actually physically cause him harm, but something that would medicate him, 8 IQ points. Logical fallacy. Straw man argument. Fail. Going to break. Stay tuned. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. So, final segment here on tonight's live edition of DTRH. Been hanging out and talking with my good friend Renee Petro, one of the Canna Moms. Make sure you check all her websites out and her Twitter and her Facebook. Look, follow her on Twitter and follow Brandon and her over on Facebook. And I'll have her plug that stuff again. I know one of the you could look up the Canna Moms, fireschildren.org. It's at Brandon the Brave on Twitter, and then just look up Brandon the Brave on Facebook. And then if I missed any, I'm sure she can throw them out there. And I'll let her plug all that, and then she can answer this question. And I'll reframe the question again because I want the listeners to have it fresh in their mind. I said before going to break, and this is me, obviously I'm going to let Renee answer this, but this is something I would pose to these sheriffs if I had a chance to sit down with them. I would say, well, You're listening to what her son goes through. You're hearing what her son goes through, okay, as if they have been listening the whole time to this broadcast. You gentlemen have heard what she's gone through. Maybe she testifies to them, whatever. And you've heard how cannabis could help him, okay? And you've heard the research that she's given you, the evidence, and all of this stuff, okay? And you still come back with this statement of, well, it lowers the IQ over the course of time by 8 points. And oh my God, that could harm this child into his adulthood. Well, again, I ask you, sir, what's the difference, or maybe rephrase this, and then I'll let Renee answer this, but do you think that it's fair to deny the child access to this medicine when supposedly, and again, I don't believe that it reduces the IQ, because I know it causes tissue regeneration, and therefore it would actually probably enhance. And IQ is just a number anyway; it's just a test. So I don't think it would actually kill his brain cells or dumb him down. I think it would actually help him, and a lot better than where he's at right now. Now, that's harmful. You're against that. But what about the medication he's currently on? Nothing hypothetical he could be on in the future. This isn't even a hypothetical. The stuff he's on now is causing him more harm. Okay? So is it fair for him to be subjected to the stuff he's on now, which causes a much larger reduction, if you want to measure IQ points, in IQ, and brain function and cells and everything else, plus whatever else it does to the rest of his little body? That's acceptable? And your argument against that is the straw man argument of, well, it's harmful because it could reduce IQ points by up to 8. It could reduce the IQ by up to 8 points over the course of time. That's your answer and your straw man argument against what I just said to you. That's pathetic. It doesn't hold any weight at all. I'll let Renee pontificate on that a bit, but it just doesn't hold any weight. Renee, what do you think?
Let me tell you what I think. I think that my son, his IQ has been affected tremendously from all these medications right now. You know what? You know why? And you know what? He can't even progress academically. He can't progress academically. He's not thriving academically. So, what would that be from? Let me think. Let me see. All of these medications he's on right now affects your ability to focus. Yeah, your ability to focus. It puts you into a state of like you're on cloud 9, like you're in another world, literally. I think what's helping him is the hemp oil to be able to actually function and try and think better. I really do. I really honestly believe that utilizing the hemp oil and the essential oils that I'm utilizing, such as frankincense, and exploring other oils, but I really believe that all of that combined is helping him. And I have to tell you, Popeye, when I hear people say, "Well, it's going to affect how smart he'll be," no, no, because you know why? Let me tell you why. Because at the end of the day, when Brandon's pharma-free, hopefully, he'll be alive. He'll be alive. And if he's on cannabis as medication, he's on cannabis as medication. You know why? Because he will be alive and hopefully free to function on his own, graduate from college, get married, have children, live the life that he wanted to before this illness took his life over, before these drugs took his life over. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that I'm Brandon's voice. And by golly, let me tell you, I am not going to give up. Absolutely not. No sheriff, no pamphlet, no speaker, no politician. No one's gonna bring me down. Absolutely not. And if that's the case, we will just move. You know where we'll move to? It's not going to be Colorado. We're going to move to Israel. since apparently they're the leaders of cannabis medication and cannabis discoveries, let's just go right there.
And it's ridiculous that you should be forced to even contemplate moving, to another state or another country just because someone's ignorance or their want and lust for the love of money. Because again, it's not money is the root of all evil; it's the love of money is the root of all evil. And it's got to be one of the two. And honestly, I can't see how at this point these sheriffs. And this isn't an accusation. I'm not trying to be controversial or anything like that. I'm stating a fact. I don't understand her at this point. You can honestly say, as one of these sheriffs, well, the DEA still has it scheduled as a Schedule 1 drug. That's not an answer. That's not an answer in a debate. I've watched these debates, and it's not a real debate when the other side is answering with logical fallacies. And, I mean, honestly, if I had been in the debate, I would have pointed out the fact that it's a logical fallacy and you need to answer with a real answer. And I would have called them out to the carpet right there and said, no, real answer. Not, well, blah, 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 blah. Well, no, the science is, there's this study or this study, because what happens is you get bogged down in the argument. And that's what the people that throw out the logical fallacy want. And it wastes time. Myself, I would have told the sheriffs, no, I'm sorry, but you have to come back with a better answer than that. Well, that's our answer. No, that's a logical fallacy, sir, and you're committing one, and that's not rational thought. That's not any type of rational debate or rational argument. Okay, rules for rational argumentation 101 was just violated. So it's not a real argument. If you have to violate the rules for rational argumentation and use a logical fallacy to get your argument across, your argument doesn't hold any water to begin with. If you have to create a straw man argument, there's no argument to begin with. And I refuse to engage in that fictitious argument because that's how they get people bogged down. And I'm not criticizing anybody who's debated these sheriffs already, but that's how it needs to be handled. They need to be shut down. I mean, 97% of the state already thinks that they're full of it. What does that tell you? I mean, they did a poll the other day, and it was 58% of men and 48% of women were for recreational use, not medicinal. Legalization like in Colorado, or, I don't like the word legalization. I think it should be decriminalization and a few other things, but whatever. The point is, people in this state, which I'm surprised at, and I'm sure you are too, Renee, are waking up because, Florida's the law enforcement state. But see, that's the problem, because a lot of these sheriffs that are against it, and whatever police chiefs and stuff, how much money do you think they make on drug war seizures each year or arrests for cannabis? I mean, good cops, like tomorrow night, I'm having a member of Law Enforcement Against Prohibition on. He's been on before. He's also one of the founders of Oath Keepers. And he's still a current duty police officer out in Texas. And he's actually a peace officer, not a police officer. But he's coming back on, and we're going to be going over this stuff and police brutality and other stuff. But last time he was on, he actually came out and I asked him about the Florida sheriff's standpoint, and he spoke out last 5 minutes of the show. I gave him time, and he said the same thing. He said, "You guys are just you're either being willful, either you're ignorant, you don't understand the facts, and you haven't taken the time, or it's because there's got to be another factor." And to me, it's money, because it's always money. They get a certain amount of seizures of drugs. They get fed, money for that. They get the whole concept of confiscating people's stuff. How many times have you seen sheriffs driving around in a Maserati or something, and how can a sheriff afford that? He can't afford it. It was probably a drug dealer's car, and they seized it. And instead of auctioning it off, he took it. Because in many states, the sheriff is actually more powerful in his county than the president of the United States. And in many states, the only people, I think it's most states actually, the only people that can fire a sheriff is the governor. And don't even get me started on our governor here. The point is, there's a reason. So I'll put it this way: there's a reason this thing had to be a constitutional amendment and not a bill. Because I guarantee you, if they passed it as a bill, it would have gotten to the governor's desk and he would have vetoed it, and that would have been the end of that. It doesn't matter if him or the state attorney general or anybody else gets all pissed off about the fact that there's going to be legal cannabis. And guess what, guys? I hate to break the news to you, but it's going to be here. and resorting to the appeal to emotion and, oh my God, scariness, fire shooting up out of the ground, and, Renee, your child would become addicted. You don't think, again, the crap that they give this little boy now is addictive? She already told you it is. You heard her tell you that. I mean, how ignorant can you be, really? Again, I don't think it's ignorance. I think it's greed to a certain extent, because you want your toys, you want your money, you want the war on drugs, because that's how you have shiny, AR-15s, and you have tanks now that are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and armored vehicles, and MRAPs and everything else. We have to have this because we're the war on drugs. And if that wasn't there to justify your toys, then there would be no more toys, and perhaps you wouldn't have all the SWAT teams and everything else. I think that's the reason why, or at least a large portion of it, that people, in the law enforcement community are against it. And I think it's criminal that you all make Renee's son and all these other children suffer. I mean, why does little Bruno down in Miami have to suffer? Why does Dahlia have to live in Colorado? Why can't Mo live here with her daughter, where they're from? Why did Sierra have to move where she's from, to Colorado? Why do all these other parents have to move? It's unacceptable. Okay? You want to honor your uniform there, your little costume with the little toy badge that anybody could get at a party city. You want to honor that thing. You want to honor that oath you supposedly took to the Constitution. Well, I'm here to protect the people. Well, then why don't you act like it, sirs? That's all I have to say, Renee.
This is how I would like to say a peaceful good night from Team Brandon the Brave. No matter what, no matter how hard things may seem, and let me tell you, they're a bit hard over here. You just never stop. You never give up. We now know, well, I guess we always did know, but it was kept a secret, right, that cannabis is medication. Cannabis is a natural medicine, okay? Our government knows this. Everybody knows this. And slowly, we're going to help this rise above sea level, because it's going to happen, all right? And eventually it'll be legal medicinally, recreationally, because it's happening anyway, everywhere, worldwide. Enough with people suffering needlessly for the benefit and interests of the good old pockets of people that are greedy, okay? Human life is worth much more than that, because I will guarantee you this. If I look, okay, which I did, I had a talk with Governor Rick Scott, our Florida governor. I went to his campaign run for Let's Work or Let's Get It Done when he was campaigning himself, and I listened to the fact that he was saying, I'm compassionate, I'm for this, and I'm for that. And I stood there and I said, hello, yes, me over here, we need to talk. I looked him in the and I said, sir, do you know something? My son is, yes, I know who you are. Well, then what you're going to help us do is you're going to support the movement. That's what I told him. Because if you had a family member that was ill, I am sure that you would do exactly what we're doing right now. And if you didn't, shame on you. Shame on you. And do you know what he answered me? He said, I have healthy children. I do not know how you feel. I wouldn't want to be in the situation. You're not. I am. And you're going to help the change. You are going to help the change. That's exactly what I told him. And you know who was interesting, who was so funny, was the lieutenant governor looked at me and thought, so this is the question. This is what he asked me. He said, so, Renee, how would you give Brandon the cannabis, the marijuana? I said, well, I don't know. What do you think? Just to see if they're actually listening to what's happening out there. He said, are you going to roll him a joint? And then I said, so, and pretty much, because I really don't care, I said, do you even watch the news? Do you even see what's going on? There are other ways to utilize cannabis. Oh, well, I just thought. No, well, you thought wrong. I really wanted to say, what are you doing here? I mean, really? How about we go play pool together? I mean, no, this is not where you need to be. Because this is how people will die, by the ignorance. Now, is it known ignorance or just play stupid ignorance? I don't know anymore. All I know is I'm not going to sit around and let it happen. So, November 4th in the state of Florida, what are we all going to do? Vote yes on 2. From now until then, we will continue to educate the majority, and hopefully it'll sink in that, what is it? Cannabis is medicine. And hopefully one day Brandon will be in my place helping so many other people. Team Brandon the Brave loves you all, and Popeye, thank you so much for having us.
Of course. You know the door is always open. You know, and people, I know the listeners wanted an update, but I think it's very powerful when you take the propaganda that's thrown out there, like on that stupid website. It's a waste of money and time and internet space, even though I know the internet is infinite, still a waste of internet space in my opinion, but it shows how desperate they are. Because it's the death throes, the screaming death throes of the war on drugs. And it's to the point where they're just using the most basic of all straw man arguments, or forming their straw man argument off the most basic of logical fallacies, or one of the most basic, which is the appeal to emotion. And in this case, it's fear. Be afraid. What you said about that PTA meeting is a perfect example of it. It's a perfect example of the death throes of the drug war that we're in, because they're deathly afraid of what's going on, and they're resorting to the most idiotic measures to get their message across. And their message has already been debunked. I mean, it's not like, again, ladies and gentlemen, I've met Renee. She's not walking around in dreads and, all hippied out and living on a farm somewhere and growing whatever, plants, kale and whatever else. And I'm not making fun of anybody that does that. That's awesome that you guys do that. But that straw man argument of, well, people just want to get high, that's not the case. I mean, she needs this for her son. There's no doubt about it. All these other moms need it for their children. There's plenty of people in this state that could medically benefit from this. How many people in your family have arthritis? Think about that. How many people out there have people in their family that have arthritis or cancer or something? Everybody has somebody that's sick in their family, or maybe you do yourself. You yourself could benefit from this. So say you don't want to be a hero. Say you don't want to save Renee's son. Okay, say you're selfish. That's fine. I understand that. Everybody is their own person. I'm not going to chastise you for it. Say you don't care about anybody's kid or anybody else. Say you only care about yourself. Well, I'm sure you have some ailments. No, I'm perfectly healthy. Oh, you think you are, but you're not. And I'm sure that without a shadow of a doubt, access to cannabis, being able to take it like a vitamin, would benefit you. Take it, just the oil, twice a day. Okay, yeah, you might get a little messed up the first time you take it because your body has to kind of, work its way out. It's the same thing with anything else you take. Has anybody ever taken Vicodin or morphine? Okay, I know I have. I've been given it by the doctor for pain plenty of times. And if you haven't taken that stuff in a while, the first time you take it, you get a little loopy sometimes. And unfortunately, my body has a tolerance to that stuff now from the years, and I don't even take it much. But even once in a while, it still hits me. And I'll get loopy if I have to take that stuff and I haven't taken it in a couple months. Okay? So that argument as well is ridiculous, and it's a non-argument. That whole website is a logical fallacy on top of a logical fallacy on top of a logical fallacy, wrapped up in a huge logical fallacy. Okay? That's what it is. It's like a huge burrito of logical fallacies. It's dumb. Right? And it makes you dumber for reading it and believing it. If you want to laugh for 5 minutes and point fingers and go ha ha ha, go to that dumb website. Don't let Florida go to pot.com. But there's no factual information there, and they contradict themselves too. because some of these sheriffs say there's no medicinal value to it, and then they actually admit on the website that there is some information out there that says that there's medicinal value. But again, they say that, people like Renee or myself or anybody else that's an advocate for it says that, well, you have to smoke it. That's not what anybody says. Again, it's straw man arguments after straw man arguments. What have I told you all about logical fallacies? If they're using logical fallacies, there's no valid argument. Period. Done. There's no point in debating their argument because that's what they want. They want you to waste your time and get involved in that debate. End it. And it should be the same way with the trolls, too. End it. Like, do you have a valid point? No, you're a jerk. That's ad hominem attack. Shut down. Pfft. End of debate. And that should be it. And, honestly, again, if you're selfish to the point where you only care about yourself, think about how you could benefit from it. Okay? Don't think about Renee's kid. Don't think about anybody else's kid. Think about yourself and how you yourself would benefit from it. Maybe you're sick. Maybe you're dying. Or maybe they've told you you're dying. Remember, doctors don't know anything. Renee said it best in the interview with Luke. I know we got a few minutes left, but Renee said it best in the interview when I drove Luke up there, and I was watching the interview the other day because I threw a video together for her, and I was listening to the interview again after it was all said and done to hear how the video played out. And she made a really good point. She said that when she was on her way back to Florida from when they were on vacation, and when he got sick, she knew that after a certain point, the doctors knew nothing, and it was her responsibility as a parent to take care of her child and learn everything she possibly could. That's a very powerful statement because she took personal responsibility for her actions. Right then and there. That thought alone is what led her on the path that she's on now. How many parents would have been afraid and not done that? Many a parent. But she didn't. That's very important, and I wanted to point that out in the last few minutes because, again, she owned it. She said, look, you know what? He's my child, and I will do what I have to do to save him because obviously the doctors don't know anything. She realized that, and she decided to act upon it. And that choice alone will save her child eventually. I really believe that. I mean, it'll remove him from all the crap that he's on now. I mean, already she's changing history by pushing people to change laws. I mean, how many of you out there have the balls to go up to the governor and say what she said to the governor? Not many of you. You talk like you would, but I don't think you'd actually do it if the governor was standing there with all the security goons. Yet, Renee, who, and I'm not picking on her for being short, but she's 4'11", and she walks over like she's 6'6" and 350 pounds and got a sword on her back. So maybe some of you guys out there could take a note from her. Like I said, she's got more courage in that little pinky finger of hers than most of you guys out there have in your whole bodies. Renee, we got about 2 minutes left before the end of the broadcast. Go ahead and plug anything you want and final thoughts.
Facebook, Brandon the Brave. We have a Cannabis Facebook page as well. We also have fireschildren.org. There's @Brandon the Brave Twitter. There's the Cannabis.com website. And furthermore, okay, what's more important than really all of that is just plug in cannabis. Medicinal benefits of cannabis. Okay? Just plug that in. Google it. See what comes up. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating what we don't have, but we do have. That kind of sounds, I don't know, but really, it's really fascinating. And what I have to say, Popeye, you have been absolutely amazing, supportive, phenomenal, just amazing. You've done so much for us, and we are absolutely, literally, like floored by the hospital. You're just very amazing. You're just awesome, and we can't really. We have to tell them the truth. I'm not 4'11". I'm Mighty Mouse. Okay? You're still Super Mom and Mighty Mouse in my eyes. Renee, you humble me, dear.
I'm glad the universe sent me to you to help you out. It is my honor to stand guard for you and your son. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. I wish we had more time. Go check her out on Facebook and Twitter. Help her out. Support her. I know I'm inspired by her. You should be too. We are out of here.